Welcome to 7 Pot Club. I'm Rob.
I grow hot peppers.
It's the final day of September, and it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit here in Minneapolis. But tomorrow, it starts getting colder, and this is likely the last 80-degree temp of 2019. Our pepper garden is winding down for the season. Some of the plants have already ripened all their peppers and dropped their leaves, while others are still bearing and will hang in there until first frost. That could happen anytime, but we'll probably hold off until the last half of October. Today, we're going to check back in on the 10 Carolina Reaper plants I've been growing to compare results from feeding with chemical versus organic fertilizer. 5 of these plants have been fertilized with the same chemically derived products I used for last year's crop, while the remainder have been nourished with Fishnure organic fish manure compost, generously supplied to us by Jim White, owner of the company. For this episode, I've gathered the plants for an end-of-season comparison. Then, we'll weigh the peppers we've collected from each plant and learn which group was most productive, organic or chemical. Finally, I'll do a tasting to see if I can tell a difference in flavor. I'll taste one from each group, plus one from the Reaper plants in our ground bed. Today's shout out is to our good friend Leo from Berlin, who we enjoyed meeting when he visited Minneapolis recently. He's been traveling all over the world, and Leo, we hope you're having a great time. Now, let's get started.
Here's what the test Carolina Reaper plants looked like back in July when we filmed part 1 and harvested the first ripe pods. The plants in the light blue pots are chemically fertilized, while the plants in the honeydew pots have been organically fertilized with Fishnure. And here's how they look today at the end of the season. Just like me, they're nearing retirement age. 8 of the plants are kept on this cart, and the other 2 are out in front, just behind our stone wall. While the peppers are looking tired and scraggly, it's the height of the season for this purple aster, which is getting a whole lot of attention from pollinators. If you want to get the complete rundown on how these plants were fertilized, please watch the part 1 episode. I'll provide a link in the video description. I want to stress that this is a comparison of the results from 2 fertilizing protocols, the one I used to use versus the new one I'm adopting. It's not a scientific test of organic versus chemical gardening or farming. That's a test I don't feel qualified to conduct. Every pepper plant, other than the 5 chemically fertilized Reapers, got its main source of nourishment from Fishnure, a no-odor organic fish manure compost that's teeming with diverse microbial life, a byproduct of catfish farming. I'm not an expert on aquaculture or organic gardening, but I've been very satisfied with the job Fishnure has done for us this year. The plants in our larger ground bed have been incredible producers, and many of the pods have been larger than any I've grown before. But it was a tough year for the potted plants. I'll tell you more as we do a visual comparison of the test Reaper plants. Remember, blue pots are chemical, and honeydew are organic. Something I noticed right away was that some of the organic plants had already dropped most of their leaves. I'm not sure why, but I have an idea. Overall, it was a cool, wet summer. In fact, 2019 is shaping up to be the wettest year ever recorded in Minnesota. The plants in the ground had good drainage and could better deal with the rain. Frequent downpours kept the pots saturated much of the time and probably washed out a lot of the nutrients. I added a slow-release granular fertilizer to the chemical plants in July, but the organic plants haven't had any additional nutrients since they were transplanted into these pots back in May. They probably could have used an extra bump too. Next year, especially if it's as wet as this year, I'll want to consider some mid-season feeding. I'll be consulting with Jim White from Fishnure to get his insight and recommendation. I want to stress that we still got good yields from the potted plants, especially considering the weather. I just wonder if they could have done even better. I've pre-selected the pods I'm going to use for the taste test. One from chemical plant number 3, and one from organic plant number 5. To make it more interesting, I'll also taste a Reaper from the ground bed plants. Before we taste, let's weigh the harvested fruit. Except for the 2 pods we'll be tasting, we've frozen every pepper we've harvested from these reapers, with a separate bag for each plant. We'll still harvest a few more, but we're close enough to the end to get a good idea of which group of plants did better. So I hauled out our old but still accurate Digiweigh postal scale. First, I weighed an empty bag so I could subtract that amount from the total weight. Since a bag weighs 1/5 of an ounce and there are 5 of each type, this is dead easy. I'll just subtract an ounce from each total. I know that watching peppers being weighed is kind of like watching paint dry, so I'll speed it up a little, but I wanted to show you the whole process. I tried to make it more interesting by adding an animation that took way too long to make. Weighing these bags kind of reminds me of a job I once had, standing for 12 hours a day in a refrigerated room, filling, weighing, and stacking 75-pound boxes of beef. Bad memories from that job are probably part of the reason why I'm a vegetarian today. So here's the nearly final result. We'll take away 1 ounce from each total to account for bag weight. There are still a few peppers ripening on the test plants, so we'll post the officially final result in a couple of weeks. I don't expect it will be much different. So we harvested about 8% more fruit from the organic plants. Probably not statistically definitive with such a small sample, but it definitely establishes that our new organic fertilization protocol with Fishnure did at least as well, and probably a little better than chemical fertilizer. I'm very pleased to report that.
Time for tasting. I waited until it stopped raining because I wanted to film outdoors one last time before the end of the season. It's not quite 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so I guess this is what you call a crisp fall day in Minnesota. I have to be careful with reapers, which I don't normally consume fresh. Typically, I don't have a lot of trouble until about a half an hour after I eat them. That's when the cramps begin. As I like to say, my mouth writes checks that my gut can't cash. What I really want to know is if there is any difference in taste, so I'll take a reasonable bite of each one and share my impressions. Let's start with the chemically fertilized pepper. I find that, compared to most other superhots, eating a reaper involves a quicker transition from taste to burn. There's a serene second of sweet fruitiness, then it's eclipsed by manic minutes of searing heat. I'm really always surprised how sweet and fruity they are. And like I said, how quickly it changes to extreme heat. Wow, that's amazing. Now, let's try the organic. It's maybe a little sweeter, a little smoother, but after you've eaten one, it's kind of hard to tell a difference with the next one. Uh-oh. Hiccups are starting. I'm going to take a break for a quick moment until the hiccups subside before I eat the next one. I'll be back in just a minute. Finally, the pepper grown in the ground. Not organic, but with organic soil amendments this year, including Fishnure. Very similar to the organic one, very sweet, maybe a little earthy. All three taste really good. I'm really excited to make pastes and sauces with these. As I'm wrapping up this fertilization experiment, my main takeaway is there is no downside to switching to organic nutrients. The plants are just as productive, the pods taste great, and there's no chemical fertilizer runoff to pollute our local lakes. I'm a believer. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and tap the bell to receive a notification each time we post a new episode. We have merch, 7 Pot Club logo merch, plus classic Clever and quirky hot pepper themed apparel, stickers, magnets, and buttons available in lots of designs and colors. Check out our newest design, I Grow Hot Peppers. If you're interested, please head over to 7pot.club/merch to learn more. And for even more 7pot Club, follow our daily exploits on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. For 7pot Club, I'm Rob. My main takeaway is that there is no downside to switching to organic. As I wrap up this fertilization experience, cut. I grow hot peppers. Clever and quirky hot pepper themed apparel, stickles. Stickles.